Welcome back to Sam's Old Homestead. We're pruning peach trees.
That's right. We are doing our peach tree pruning today, and he's gonna help me. So this is a little bit of a trial run for this weekend's video when Cass and the girls are gonna be gone out of town to a dance competition. And it's just gonna be me and little man here. So we'll see how he does today, and maybe he will help me out in this weekend's video. You wanna do highs and lows this weekend?
Yeah.
On the video? Yeah? All right. Maybe that's something you guys can look forward to. So we'll see how it goes. But yes, today we are gonna be pruning our peach trees. A little bit early on this, but not too early. You really want to do it about mid to late February is typically when we do it. The signs to look for are when these buds start to emerge, and for peach trees, when the wood starts to turn kind of a reddish or peachish color. That is an indicator that the sap is just about ready to start flowing and the buds are really gonna start to pop. So the peach trees are different than apple trees and most other trees. So any fruit tree that is a stone fruit variety, meaning a fruit that has one big seed right in the middle of it, you're gonna prune this way. It's really an open vase shape. Now, the best way to start with a peach tree is start as young as possible because you want to cut them off at about knee height. You want to cut the main leader, the main trunk off. So you really want to start with what's called a whip, which is when a young tree that hasn't started branching yet, that's a whip. So if you could start with that, that's the best. Those are kind of hard to find, especially if you're going to a nursery. This one was not like that, but I did try to find one as young as possible, just because the more branches it has on it, the more trauma it's gonna go through when you do cut that leader off. Now, the reason you wanna do that is because you want all the branching to start low so that you can create that open vase shape. If you allow that trunk to stay there and continue to grow up, you're gonna have like a normal tree, a central trunk with branches and everything else, which for a peach tree can really compromise the health and shorten the lifespan of it. So that's why you want to get that open vase shape. On this one, you can see right here is where I made that initial cut to stop the growth of the trunk. You do want to try to keep 3 main branches going in 3 different directions. So this one initially started out with this branch, this one, and then I guess it was this one. I didn't have a good one coming off the backside. Both of my peach trees are like that. And the other one did lose one of its main branches, so it's got just a really awkward shape. But this one didn't have a great shape to begin with, so I kind of had to make do with what I had. Now last year, I grafted on, if you can see this right here, grafted on a nectarine. We got a nectarine tree and I took a couple clippings off of it and grafted it onto this one. And this one took. Some of the grafts did not take, but this one did take. So this is gonna give me that balance. At least that's the plan anyway, for that more symmetrical look of the tree. All right, so pruning, what do you do? How do you do it? So on this one, again, kind of the same terminology as the grapes. We do have the buds, which are the little bumps, if you don't know, the growth nodes, and the trunk, and then the branches. So the first thing that I'm gonna look for when I go in to start pruning these trees are any branches that are going to be crossing over another one. Anywhere where you have crossing, it could create a weak spot and compromise the health of the tree. So you don't want that. It brings on disease. So we're gonna look for all of those areas. So this right here is definitely a future problematic area. So I'm gonna pick which one I wanna keep. And by the looks of it, I'm probably taking the long one off over here. Only because it's growing more towards this other branch over here. So we're gonna come all the way back down to where it is coming off of the branch and cut it just above the branch collar, which is right where it connects in. You don't want to get too close to that, because if it calluses over that, it could cause damage that goes into the rest of the branch, the main branch, and you could lose that branch. So right here, just going to cut it and done. Now I do a chop and drop method, which is basically just you cut it and drop the branches and leave them on the ground. We probably will take some of these to feed them to the rabbits, because the rabbits love these guys. All right, so I'm gonna go through and look for all of those areas.
Whoa.
And get this thing cleaned up, and then we'll do the next step. All right, so that one was like super easy and didn't have to worry about a lot of those crossing ones. I think that's the only one. That's the benefit when you do this every year. You do get to eliminate a lot of those future problem areas. It just makes that part of the trimming that much easier in coming years. So the next thing we're gonna do is look for any of these branches that are growing down or back towards the middle. We wanna eliminate those. Open base means that these main structural branches are going to be the bottom of the tree. You don't really want anything growing out down below them, and you don't want anything growing back towards the middle. There are definitely ones that are growing down that we want to go ahead and get rid of. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll talk about the last step. All right, so I did catch something on here that I did not catch on the initial checking of everything. We do have one right here that's growing straight up that is probably a pretty aggressive shoot, meaning it's gonna take a lot of energy because it's gonna want to grow faster than the rest of the tree. I look for those and try to get rid of those just to eliminate any extra energy that the tree's going to try to put into something that's not going to be the highest producing. However, man, I'm torn because it does have a lot of flower buds on it. So I may end up leaving that one, honestly. No, I'm going to take it off. So taking that one off, and then we also want to promote a little bit more branching on this. So the last thing we're gonna do is cut the tips of all of these longer ends. And we're gonna look at the buds, look at what direction they're growing, and base it on that. All right, so this one is the graft, and this is a prime example of one that I'm wanting to cut just to promote more branching. So you want to look for, apparently there's like weeds turning into airplanes flying around me. So you want to look for buds that are going to be growing out to the side. And if you've got one, so like on this one, I've got a pretty good branch system over here, but nothing in this area right in front of me. So I'm gonna cut it right above a bud that's going this direction just to get it to encourage growth this direction. So this one, gonna come back to here. We got one good one right here. Cut it and be done. So the rest of these, on these extremities, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the ends of these just to promote a little bit more branching. Doing the same thing, wanting to promote that growth away from any neighboring branches. One thing I want to point out that is really important when you're looking at these buds are the difference between a flower bud and a growth bud. So these up here are flower buds. They're going to be bigger, a little more round, and typically look almost a little bit, I think, fuzzy. But these are going to be the flower buds. These smaller ones that are usually more of a point right here, that's going to be just new growth. That's not going to be a flower. So that is what you are looking for when you're pruning it to determine the direction that future growth is going to go. So make sure you do know the difference between the two. Otherwise, you may be pruning for an unruly growth habit this year. that's done. It's as easy as that. It's always kind of difficult for me when I'm going in and I'm seeing all these flower buds that I'm cutting off. And I'm like, oh, those are potential peaches. But the reality is you want a stronger tree, and in order to do that, you do have to cut some of those off. It saves energy so that it can produce so that it can produce a fuller, better harvest. Just like those grapes that we talked about in the weekend video. The less that fruit that this tree is trying to support, the healthier the fruit and bigger and better quality and all of that stuff the fruit's gonna be. It also allows the girth of the branches to grow a little bit faster than the length, so you get stronger branches in the end as well. So that's about it. It's not that difficult. Just a couple of key things to look for when you're doing it. This is, again, one major mistake that I see people making is not trimming their fruit trees, and you just sacrifice so much when you do that. It can be, especially if you're having to do a hard prune, this one was pretty easy. It can be intimidating, but you know, healthy tree, healthy plant, it's gonna be able to rebound, it's gonna be fine. So thank you guys, I hope you learned something from this. I hope that you are enjoying these pruning videos and getting ready for the spring and hopefully a good, healthy fruit harvest for this year. Have a great week. Josiah and I will see you in this weekend's video, and be blessed.